What's up? I'm Brent James, and this is my Be Different Spotlight. You said you loved me, took me to the fire. We held hands, walked away. Now I'm resting, sleeping alone. I'm not trying to tell you I need love, but I need love. It's hidden away. And I'm not trying to tell you that I stand alone every day. Sat in the window smoking your cigarettes. No regrets, no none at all. Cardinals land on broken leaves and you don't even think of me. I'm working, oh so damn hard. I'm not trying to tell you I need love, but I need love, but it's hidden away. And I'm not trying to tell you that I stand alone, but I stand alone every day. Oh, my love is never gone. Oh, it's just hard to find. Oh, my love is never gone. Oh, it's just hard to find. I'm not trying to tell you I need love, but I need love, but it's hidden away. I'm not trying to tell you that I stand alone, but I stand alone every day. No, I'm not trying to tell you I need love, but I need love, but it's hidden away. I'm not trying to tell you that I stand alone, but I stand alone each and every day. We're recording.
Well, I feel like we're
Always,
always
baby. Yeah,
we're
baby.
always recording.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
never
for
off
sure.
the mic. I mean, your whole life's been on the mic.
Totally. Here it is.
Are you?
right
Yeah, this is Brent James as Fuzz Dillon.
here. Yeah, come on. Get on it, Spotify. Come on.
Check out Fuzz Dillon.
Put your boat shoes on, turn up your car, take a slide towards me. I know you trying to holler, gonna spit about your art and call me sister. Only influence I see is Urban Outfitters. Who's on your playlist, baby? 'Cause I know it ain't me. Who's on your
Yeah,
playlist?
come on now.
Dude, I literally think that you need to put that out.
It's out, dude. It's on Spotify, y'all. Everybody listening right now, hit it up on Spotify. Come
We need
on.
more Fuzz Dillon.
So I get those big Spotify checks, dog.
Absolutely.
You know.
In all seriousness, no, I've seen you play a bunch of times. I've been a big fan of yours for a long time, and it's not just because we both grew up in Frankenmuth. It's because you're fantastic.
Right back at you.
But
man.
how'd you develop that stage presence? Because like you have this magnetism about you when you get up on stage. I mean, is that something that you had early on, or did you feel like you've really developed into it? Because you have it. You know that you have it.
Well,
and
thanks,
you're a
man.
relatively humble guy, and I know that you're
I
going to
appreciate
react.
it.
But where'd you get that from?
I don't know, man. You know, I was always, I guess from the beginning, was always obsessed with like just frontmen in general, I guess, and front women. Like Janis Joplin is just like such a like if you watch her
move on stage, like it's hard to get any cooler in my mind, you know, just watching her just like go back and forth like and work the stage, like she's just an animal. But you know, Jim Morrison, like I was always a fan of him. Like the first shows we ever played were in like Saginaw, Michigan. And
there you go.
man, where's this place called? Shoot, I can't remember the name of the spot. I wish I could remember. I'm sure it's gone now, but you know, we played White's Bar in Saginaw, and there's one other place, but you know, we used to have like a residency there like every Tuesday, so it was cool. Like, you know, I was like maybe, you know, 19, 20 and just like running through, you know, just learning songs and going after it, and you know, watching like, good God, I don't even know how much money I spent on DVDs and like hours. My cousin and I would just sit in front of the TV in his basement after we'd rehearse and just like watch, you know, like the Freebird movie and like the Doors live and the Woodstock movie. Watch that I don't know how many times. And then of course you got to sprinkle in Dazed and Confused movie in there, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I just loved watching and, you know, just seeing how somebody worked a room, you know, how these guys would work a room and keep people interested. Because you go to so many shows sometimes and it's like there's just so many bands and it's so hard to keep people watching you, you know, like people, everybody wants to look at their phone halfway through the song or they just don't want to, you know, and I just tried to, you know, not to be too cheesy here, but to be different. You know.
There you go. Be different. That's why you're on the show. So
Yeah.
were you practicing in the mirror? You wake up in the morning or an hour before the show. Are you a mirror guy, or are you just?
Dude, when I was
I'm
a
gonna get
kid-
up there and just.
No, when I was
let
a
it roll.
kid, I mean, it went away, but like living in, you know, I mean, the house I grew up in, you know, it was in Frankenmuth it was on the corner of Curtis and Bayer Road out there, and this white house right on the corner. And I would just stand upstairs in my in my bedroom and listen to hip hop music, man. Like I'm such a big hip hop junkie fan. Like I mean, I first started listening. I mean, those were like my first memories of music. It was like just like some of the worst raw dog, you know, rap music that I should not have been listening to.
Yeah,
I
just
would hide
very
the tapes
nasty
from.
lyrics, just the whole
Awful,
deal.
dude.
Yeah.
Awful. My friend Todd would, you know, burn me these, or I guess not even burn, but I guess quote unquote dub me these tapes. And it sounds really ridiculous, but I remember I would go to school with my lunch money to go to school, and he would come in and have like a Too Short cassette tape that he dubbed, and I would pay him $10 for this. Brand new, they're $10, but I didn't know, and I couldn't get them because I wasn't old enough to buy these because they were explicit lyrics. I bought that from him. I bought like DJ Pooh, which was like super, you know.
God, DJ Pooh?
Yeah. You know, Ice Cube tapes, America's Most Wanted,
Yeah.
Lethal Injection, all the NWA stuff. Yeah, like I just thrived off of that. Like I just loved the attitude of rap music
Yeah.
and like the how like, you know.
There's such an aggressiveness
Yeah,
behind
dude, like the
that style of music.
NWA, you know, Straight Outta Compton video is like, that's so rock and roll, man. You know, just coming out, like the first scene of that video is just grabs you, you know. So that's just some, you know, like some killer stuff. I do remember getting the Vanilla Ice tape, like right when I was getting into rap music. And I remember like on this tape, it was like I bought the single, and I think on the B-side, I can't remember the name of the song on the B-side, but can we swear on this? Or
Yeah.
On the B-side, he said shit on there, and I remember as a kid, I don't know how old I was when that came out, but I remember like being like thinking to myself in my mind, like, oh my God, like he swore on this, like I should have this, you know, like I should throw this away. And then fast forward like 2 months, and I got NWA bumping in my bedroom. But you know, it is what it is, and it was just, you know, it's good memories, and you know, I still to this day am a big old hip hop fan. So
well, then your sound developed a little bit away from the hip hop vibe, though. So how did you develop the kind of sound that you have now? And as far as picking up a guitar, were you self-taught, or did you have someone show you how it was done initially?
You know, I went from listening to rap music heavily. It's all I listened to all the way up until probably about maybe 8th grade. And then once 8th grade started, I remember getting the Counting Crows record, August and Everything After, and just like being blown away by Adam Duritz's voice, the singer, and just being like, wow, this is crazy. Like the songs actually made me, you know, feel something different than like, you know, rap music was just like so like, you know, like biting leather and like, let's go, you know, and like this was like actually like So these were songs that were like actually making you think about,
Mhm.
you know, like your own emotions and your own life. And, you know, you start to hit that age and, you know, other things go, you know, coming in and out. And so it's a lot of that stuff. And like the Wallflowers record, that was a great record. And I just started getting into that stuff. And then, you know, got into the Grateful Dead a lot, you know, in high school, and had all these, you know, house parties, and all my friends would come over, and, you know, we'd sit out in the backyard and, and listen to Grateful Dead songs, and, you know, and kind of, you know, drink a little bit too much. You know.
I feel like I'm really taking you down memory lane right now.
You are, bro.
I feel like
You
I
are,
really am.
man. Yeah. As far as picking up an instrument, man, I got mono when I was 17 years old, and I got it super bad. Whereas like my spleen enlarged, and I wasn't like, the doctor was like, you shouldn't ride in a car, you should just stay home. So like this entire summer, you know, from my, you know, between my 9th grade year and my 10th grade year, it was like, you got to stay home and you
Yeah.
know, like take it super easy. So I was talking to my folks one night, and they were like, you know, is there something that you want to try and do or learn? I was like, well, I always want to learn how to play the drums. So my buddy's brother, my buddy Sean Gallagher, his brother Ryan, he was selling a drum set, and we bought the drum, went over to his house, bought the drums. He brought them over, set them up for me. He sat down, he showed me like 3 basic beats, and out of those 3 basic beats, you know, it was like I sat there. I mean, it took me a while to learn, but he showed me those, and I, you know, eventually learned them, and then started to learn other stuff. And I started to learn about like the construction of a song,
Mhm.
you know, like where are you going to land on the one and all that good stuff. But it was cool, you know, like Ryan was a great dude, and, you know, I'm glad that he showed me that stuff back in the day.
Do you remember the first time that you performed? Because I feel like
Dude, I
like
do.
learning the instrument and then figuring out that you can sing, but then making that decision to do it in a public forum, there's probably a little bit of back and forth in your head, I would imagine, but it sounds like you do remember the first time.
Dude, I do, bro. I do, man. It's funny. I actually remember it so clearly, too. Although I'm not going to probably remember the name of the spot, but it was in Frankenmuth, and where were we at? Dang, I'm trying to remember the name of this spot. Maybe like something coffee. It wasn't Frankenmuth Coffee, like Coffee Grounds or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know, something. But yeah, we, you know, like I met a couple friends in school that played guitar and like wrote songs and actually knew how to write a song, and it was cool. And like, so we were like, oh, let's start this band.
Mm-hmm.
So the first band that I was in high school was this band called Ocean Soul, and the guitar player, his name was Brandon, super cool dude. All the guys in that band were great, but he actually had his own apartment. You know, we were like juniors or seniors in high school, and he had his own spot. We were like, oh, dude, let's start writing some songs over at your spot. So. I look back on that now, I'm like, man, my man had his own apartment our
Yeah.
senior year. That's cool. So, so we started writing songs over at his place, and then we booked our first show shortly thereafter, and I think we had maybe like 5 or 6 songs. And we played at this coffee house, and some friends from high school came out and hung out. But I do remember it like it was, you know, it was terrifying, but it was also just so, you know, so fun, and just like, you know, it was like, wow,
Yeah.
like this is how it starts. This is how everybody starts, you know. I remember just leaving. I left the coffee house, and I just remember driving home, and this is going to sound so cheesy, but I remember looking out the window. I was in the back seat, and I remember looking out the window just like, this is straight magic. Like, this is really, 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 really cool. So I suppose the addiction of music was born maybe in that moment.
Adrenaline rush and the addiction, and
There's nothing like the adrenaline rush, you know, like
Mhm.
even to playing to that many people, you know. I've played to the bartender, and I've played to 20,000 people, you know, and they're not, you know, exactly comparable, but there's still an energy to playing to somebody that hasn't heard any of your songs
Mhm.
that like really likes it, you know, and is giving you a response back. You know, you're still going to get that like adrenaline rush from it. But yeah, it's definitely an addicting thing.
yeah.
For sure.
Well, and you've been in the music game for a long time,
Yeah.
and there's no signs of stopping.
So I got these dark circles under my eyes, bro.
late nights,
Yeah,
early
man.
mornings now.
Yeah, man.
With the family too.
Yeah,
so
dude.
your hours, I'd
Yeah.
imagine now, are just
Yeah,
all over
it's
the place.
crazy, dude.
If you ever needed someone, brother, to stand beside you in the rain, well, I will be there holding your umbrella for all the times you stood by me. Everybody feels a little pain, but I am alive. Hey, it'll all go away, and you will survive. Let's take a walk and talk, man. I know we are far from like-minded neighbors these days, but the story of life is such a sharp knife, boring as he with no blade. Everybody feels a little pain, but I am alive. Hey, it'll all go away, you will survive. Oh yeah. Everybody feels a little pain, but I am alive. Hey, it'll all go away, you will survive. Everybody feels a little pain, but I am alive, am alive. Hey, it'll all go away, you will survive. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You will survive, baby. Oh, you will survive. If you ever needed someone, brother.
After Michigan, where'd you go from there? Because I know you were in New York for a while prior to coming to Cincinnati, but how did that work
Yeah.
for you?
After I graduated, I moved to New York, and that's where I met my wife, and just moved out there, and started. I went out there, and right when I moved out, I was trying to get a job at like various places in the city, like Guitar Center. You apply at like all the the normal stuff that being a musician will allow you to apply at, and so I went out there and tried to get a job at some of those places and started applying, and I met my wife's friend, Megan, her roommate. She knew that I was in the game, and she was like, hey, my roommate has a studio if you ever want to come over and record anything. I was like, oh,
Nice.
for real? That's what's up. So maybe a week after I moved there, I went and recorded some songs in his studio, just some acoustic demos in his studio. And when I finished recording with Greg, his roommate, Christian, walked in. And there were three of them that lived there, Megan, Christian, and Greg. And Christian walked in, and he was like, hey, what's up? We started talking. And He's like, so what are you doing? You just moved out here? I was like, yeah. He's like, what are you doing for money? I said, I'm applying at, various places, trying to get in where I fit in, and he's like, oh, well, don't get a job. Don't get a job, especially if you're a musician, man. He's like, you got to be out playing shows and, and hitting the road and stuff. I was like, yeah, but, I also got to pay the bills, whatever, pay some rent. So he was like, well, I'm a casting director and, I can get you work, and it's good money. It's way better than what you'll make at those places, and he's like, have you ever acted before? And I was like, not a day in my life, I never have. But he really, kind of took me under his wing in the beginning and hooked me up with, some good paying stuff. Like a week after I lived there, 2 weeks after I lived there, I was sitting at a table with the entire cast of The Sopranos, like having lunch with The Sopranos. Like, it was crazy, like he hooked up a bunch of stuff. So like, I don't remember what season it is, but like there's a scene where like I chased James Gandolfini down like this corridor with like a bunch of other people, and it was cool. I couldn't afford HBO, so like I didn't really know like
they had lunch with The Sopranos.
Yeah, dude, it was insane.
You know how many
man.
people would pay ridiculous money
Dude,
for that opportunity?
I know, it was crazy. It was straight crazy. But yeah, he hooked up a bunch of stuff. We did that, and I did Sex and the City, the movie. I was the bartender in Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. You can see me pretty good in that. And I was Deegan McNeil on Lipstick Jungle with Brooke Shields on
Lipstick
NBC.
Jungle,
Yeah,
wow.
dog. You know that. Law and Order, met Ice-T, which was cool because going back to those early days,
I feel like Ice-T is like the same on camera as he is out. He just doesn't seem like he changes at all.
Yeah, he was real deal. He was super nice, but all the Law and Orders I think I did, and the movie Motherhood with Uma Thurman, I did that. Was like a hippie musician type behind. I was driving a Cadillac with a couple of my musician friends.
So you did this for a while.
Oh, dude, that's how
while playing shows as much as you could.
Yeah, it's how I, it was my only source of income, because playing in New York City, like, you're just, it's really hard to make money in the beginning unless you start, garnering like a crowd and bringing people in, which we finally started to do later on. But like, then we toured up and down the East Coast, and we were doing like, playing New York City, and then, we'd go from New York City down to like Fairfax, Virginia, and do the State Theater. Shout out to my buddy Wes down there. And then from there, we'd go to, Philadelphia, and then D.C., the Black Cat in D.C. We'd play down there, and just running up and down the East Coast over and over in a van, and van and trailer. So eating those bologna sandwiches,
Bologna? Pickle loaf sandwiches, whatever you could get your hands on.
Dude, I forgot about pickle loaf. Yeah.
Well, if you're eating bologna, you're probably doing some pickle loaf too, just to change the flavors.
I'm thinking olive loaf. I'm thinking I've never had pickle loaf.
I think it's like
dude.
the same thing.
Never had the pickle loaf, but yeah, olive loaf was money. I remember that stuff.
So I mean, the music industry just seems like a wild jungle. It just seems like, and it's changed so much, especially over the last 15 to 20 years. Like, how have you been able to navigate that successfully with you and your team?
It's definitely changed, that's for sure. It is, like everybody says, that is, become the wild, wild west. I mean, you can, make a run at it without a label now, which is, was unheard of back in the day. With, just all the online outlets and all that stuff, i.e. Chance the Rapper. I mean, that dude's just come out swinging, and, he's a beast. Big fan of that dude. But yeah, it's definitely changed for sure. We've always been pretty DIY, or I have been, since I started doing this, because up in all by myself, except for, signing a publishing deal with BMG. Initially I signed with Primary Wave, and then BMG bought my catalog from them. But, it's pretty much up until the point where I signed with those guys, it was all DIY, which I'm pretty proud of, there's, get some respect from guys in the game when you're doing it yourself, which is cool. And I've just always been the type of dude that was, living in Frankenmuth, I would sit on my bedroom floor and, like thumb through the musician's atlas and like, just cold call like labels and venues and trying to get shows and and then by being denied, like you learn about, like, well, why did I not get that? Of course I was, like 18, 17, 16 years old calling these people, had no business, we didn't have a record out or anything, but, it was a good learning experience, like learning about all of just the ins and outs of the business. And, I met a few people who would actually talk to me for more than a couple minutes, and want to get off the phone. A couple guys would, talk about the business side of stuff. I remember one dude that he was at Capitol Records, and just a really, really cool guy. And I was talking to him, and I remember him telling me I was in Ocean Soul, and I was talking to this dude just about, getting signed and, how to get signed, because up until that point, like, I didn't have anybody in my life in the music business. I had no idea that that's how you got signed. A person like gave you a record deal, and then sent you on your way, and you become a big old star or whatever. It's that easy, I had no idea that it could, that these guys were the gatekeepers like that. And I remember him telling me, this is not going to be the only band that you will be in your life. And I remember, like, being completely devastated as a kid hearing that. I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is my only band I'll ever be in. These guys are my bros, which they were, great dudes, But as you get older and things change and life changes and people go away to school or they move, whatever, there's no way to forecast any of that stuff. But I just remember in that moment being like, no, and like getting angry, you know, and like wanting to get off the phone. Like, no, I'm not. This will be my only band I'm ever going to be in, Sure enough, of course it wasn't,
So what's the makeup of your group right now, and how did that come together?
The makeup of the band currently is myself. I got Ricky Veneman on the guitar, Nick Baverman on the drums, Charlie Persona, a.k.a. Chuck Smith, on the bass guitar. Bunch of great dudes, and just, to say good musicians is a huge understatement. Just straight out of the stratosphere musicians, just great players, like just super pros. Great dudes, and yeah, man. So we've just been going after it and pushing the rock up the hill.
All right, yeah, you guys are fantastic. I try to go as often as I can. I feel like I do a pretty good job of making shows, especially the ones locally.
Yeah.
So I got 5 questions here that I've been asking every artist, and so it can be as short or as long as you would like this to be, but hopefully these are not too bad. I told Chandler, who was on earlier, if you need to close your eyes for 2-3 seconds and just, visualize yourself someplace else, and go ahead and do that. So you ready for the 5?
Oh, I'm scared. You got me scared.
No, they're not bad.
All
I
right,
promise.
Let's do it. Fire away.
So if somebody had never listened to your music before, first-time listener, what song of yours would you have them listen to, and why?
Oh, man. What a tough question. One of my favorite songs that I've ever written was I originally wrote it on a piano. It's called "It's All Right," but it's one of those songs I feel like grabs the emotion out of you. And every time we play that song, no matter if somebody has heard it or if they've never heard it, if it's their first time hearing the song, by the end of that song, they know the hook. And we've seen it over and over and over again when we play live. Like, we'll all look at each other after and be like, oh, it's pretty crazy. Like, I know that these people have never heard it. And they're all singing it back. So, yeah, like, I would check that out. And there's a song called Maybe that I wrote that is pretty special, too. So so I'm going to throw 2 at you there. It's all right,
like
Maybe.
That.
Yeah,
all
hit
right.
it up on Spotify. Come on now.
All right, that works. Question 2. Question 1 wasn't so bad.
Not so bad.
All right. If you could see any musician, performer, band, dead or alive, who would it be for you?
Wow, what a great question. Dead or alive? I would have to probably say... The Doors. Jim Morrison was like, not many people did it cooler than him. I don't know that anybody has. He was just such a different bird. I would like to see the way that he interact interacted with his band on stage between songs, stuff like that.
Okay, that's a pretty good one. I don't
Yeah.
think many people are gonna argue with you on
Yeah.
on that answer.
Yeah.
All right, you've played in a lot of venues throughout your career across the
Uh-huh.
country. Do you have a favorite venue that you've ever been able to perform at?
Are we talking festival venue, or are we talking? Because I do have a favorite festival
Okay.
venue area, which
Yeah. I think the festival would work
Yeah.
fine.
Okay. So we played with Alice Cooper here, and we played with, I can't remember who else we played with. Maybe Candlebox here and a couple other bands over the years. But it's in Bay City. It's this place called Vets Park, and it's right on the river. And it's always cool because people come out and support. It's not far from Frankenmuth. So there's generally a good crowd there that's supportive of us and stuff. That's giving it back. So. Yeah, that's a really fun place. We've played there maybe 4 or 5 times, and every single time it's magic. We played there with REO Speedwagon, but it got rained out, which was super bummer city.
Oh, it sucks.
Yeah, it was super bummer. But yeah, we've had some great shows there. 25,000 people. I think that's about what capacity is there. And we played there with Alice Cooper. I mean, we did a run with Alice Cooper. And
What's Alice Cooper like?
oh,
This
so
is cool, dude.
man. Yeah. With the Contraband, the guys that I played with before, we did this run with Alice Cooper, and it was so much fun. He was such a nice dude, super supportive. Had a golf cart behind his bus because he golfs so much. Thought that was cool. But yeah, just a beast. Nicest guy off stage, but then on stage we were like, whoa, damn.
It's funny. My mama liked that because she was a big Alice Cooper fan growing up.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
come on now, girl. You know
Yeah.
what's up.
Yeah. All right. What has been one of your peak moments or highlights as a musician? Maybe like a moment where you had been pushing for so long, and then you finally got like a little bit of a break. Was there any moment like that stands out to you during your career?
I would have to say, probably without a doubt, signing, a major publishing deal. Like I was, so broke, and just had, just getting a deal with them, and you getting an advance, and getting all that stuff was just like, it's kind of, I feel like, legitimized myself as a little bit, of more than just a hobbyist and something I love to do. It was okay. This is a real deal. Like, these people are in the game, and they know songs, and they like my songs and believe in my songs enough to sign me, and
Just gets you
make me feel a
credentialed.
little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, you feel
living
credentialed
alone.
after that,
Yeah,
too, right?
for sure, most definitely.
All right, this is your last question, and it actually transitions perfectly, so great answer. But we have a lot of young listeners on our podcast, too, and people that want to be musicians and want to get into the industry. What advice would you have for someone that's just starting out? If you were a mentor or a coach talking to a kid who's talking to Brent James at 17 or 18 years old, what would you say to him?
Oh, wow, what a good question. I would say, I think that there's a lot of, I guess it depends what type of game, what aspect of the game that they're trying to get in. If they're in a rock and roll band, or if they're in a country band, or if they're in a folk band or whatever, if you're in a band, I think that a lot of people get caught up in, and I fell victim to it, of feeling like you have to move to a big city in order to be a success and to get noticed. It's really not like that anymore. I mean, you can, come out swinging from, a small town. Obviously, Greta Van Fleet's a perfect example of that. Those boys, just, stayed there and did their thing. And so I think that, probably stay put, get your friends to come out to shows, and get your friends to share the stuff. I mean, that's the beauty of music now. Like, bands that are coming up now, the sharing and, all that cross-pollination is just beyond important, and like, that's all what labels want to see is numbers, like that's all labels care about right now is just numbers,
Right.
Streaming numbers. If you don't have streaming numbers, your chances, unless you're packing rooms that don't listen online, which, if you're a young band, like that's non-existent now. So get your numbers up. And I hate to have to say that, honestly. Like, I'm always thinking to myself, man, Bob Dylan wouldn't have cared about this back in the day, but damn, he probably would have. The Stones, they wouldn't have cared about it back in the day. They probably would have had to now in this day and age. But And then, if you're going into a different part of the game, like if you're trying to, like become an agent at William Morris or CAA or Paradigm or whatever, and you want to get in that, or you want to get a publishing deal and you just want to write songs and you don't care about being a musician and touring and doing any of that stuff, then I would say, definitely, move to, if you're wanting to get into the country game or the rock game and write with some people, like Nashville's a good spot to be right now. If you're wanting to get into the, more pop side of stuff and also some rock stuff, LA's killing right now for that stuff, just types of whatever, kind of just dependent upon which type of genre that, you're wanting to write. But, yeah, I mean, I could talk for hours about that. I got too many opinions about it.
I'm sure. I'll give you one more question along that lines, though. But do you think that's damaging music today, where like the labels are only looking for streams as opposed to like true content and value in the lyrics, or do you feel like if you're independently you can make it work? Because it just seems like there's a lot of artists that'll blow up now that have very little content or substance to what they may be saying, but their views are huge because they're saying just ridiculous, ridiculous lyrics over and over, and for whatever reason, they're getting a buzz because of that. I mean, they're probably more of a flash in the pan than a band or group that lasts forever, but
yeah, they're
still probably going to get signed.
I think I know who you're talking about, but we won't name names on here. Maybe after. It's funny. I do think that it is a bummer in the music business right now with that, with the approach that that musicians have to take now. Like a fine example is I was listening to an interview with the Black Keys, and Patrick was talking about just about the business side of things, and he had a great point which I never thought about ever in my life, but like I said, the first tape that I ever bought was a Vanilla Ice tape, and I listened to it. I mean, honestly, I listened to it non-stop. It was over and over and over for I don't know how long, but I was just obsessed with that song. Same with that song, like Technotronic, Pump Up the Jam. Like I got that and just constantly listened to that song. And that's what you have kids doing now on songs, that whatever Ice Ice Baby or, Pump Up the Jam would be now. We can name some of those or we cannot, but they're just listening to them over and over and just racking up these streaming counts. So like you're getting like, an artist having just an insane amount of plays, but it's coming from, one kid like me listening to, Vanilla Ice, or whatever over and over and over. So I think that there are so many, I mean, I know there's so, I couldn't even, don't get me started about just friends that are musicians that have incredible songs, that are incredible songwriters, that just don't have the streaming numbers, that should have the ears on them. Like they'll get people listening to them and add it. You get a song added to a playlist, and it gets played every 30 times through their playlist. But it's I guess is what kind of crowd you're going after, and do you want to try and sell out big football stadiums, or are you cool with playing the Taft Theater here in town and playing to people who will be there in 20 years to hear you again at the Taft Theater, and backing it out and having a career like that, that's what I'm about, like I just want to write good songs and have people care and come out and know the songs, and I get stoked when there's 100 people there that know us, so I get stoked when there's 5 people there that know the songs that I don't know. It's all the same. Well,
I know we could probably go down this rabbit hole for the next hour or two, but I know that you have places to be, so I don't want to keep you for too long.
No, it's all good.
But you've been great with your time, and thanks for coming on the show. And we always end with the same question every time that we have a guest on for the Be Different podcast. Our name is Be Different. We're all about connecting with local entrepreneurs, artists, anybody like influencing and impacting their community. So we feel like you represent that. As a part of, being different, what makes you and your team different? Your ability to connect, your ability to perform, write songs. What is it about you that makes you kind of separate from the pack?
Man, I guess I pride myself on just hard work and caring, but I don't know. I feel like I've always got time for somebody if they want to talk after a show. I don't blow people off. I see some people that aren't that large and in charge yet, and they're blowing people off. So I don't know. We care about people that come out to see us, and we give a shit. So I don't know. I think that we're nice dudes that like to bring the fucking rock and roll.
I like that. All right, well, Brent, you're the man. We'll let you get rolling.
Right back at you, homie.
And I guess for the crew of the Be Different podcast, we are out of here, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.